What if Hugo Strange did actually reveal Batman's identity in Batman Arkham City? How would the events of the Arkhamverse have played out had he did that? This is a what if video, obviously. I wanted to make it because I like doing what if videos and creates a cool conversation as well. But yeah, I don't see anyone talking about this. The whole plotline of Arkham City where Hugo knows who Batman is really didn't go anywhere. It was really just used as leverage for Hugo to work with Ra's al Ghul, but it led nowhere. So let's create the scenario. What if right before Hugo died, he revealed to the world that Bruce Wayne is Batman? Let's just get on with the video. If you enjoy this content, please subscribe. I'm trying to get 100k, and follow me on Twitter as well. But other than that, let's move on. Okay, so one thing I want to get right out of the way is, what if Hugo did tell everyone Bruce Wayne is Batman? That wouldn't necessarily mean people would believe him, right? Like, Bruce Wayne's lawyers could very much protect him, or Bruce Wayne's fake party boy personality would back him up here. Unless Hugo had actual proof Bruce is Batman, then ultimately him telling people would lead to nothing. But let's just forego that fact. Let's say if he did reveal Bruce's identity, people would believe him and now the world knows Bruce is Batman. Where do we go from there? Okay, now there's a lot to talk about if this is the case. Let's assume the timeline stays the same with Arkham Knight, okay? Like, Arkham Knight is still the next game, but now we're just throwing this hypothetical scenario in there. Now, how would Arkham Knight play out? So let's give it our best shot here. So first of all, we know that Bruce Wayne has a plan if his identity ever went public. We saw it in Arkham Knight, the Nightfall Protocol. So the protocol is that he would enter his manor, making it clear the press is there to see him along with Alfred, and the manor would explode, giving people the illusion that he and Alfred are now dead. But we do see that Bruce is still a vigilante in Gotham, using Scarecrow's fear toxin to continue the mission shortly after at the end of Arkham Knight. So Nightfall Protocol is basically him faking his death to protect him and his loved ones. Now, I don't know if him coming back as a vigilante later on is a part of the Nightfall Protocol, but as we see in Arkham Knight, Bruce isn't active as a superhero in Gotham for at least a little bit, since we see that with the time skip in that cutscene, as well as the post-Arkham Knight episodes where his allies talk as if he's actually dead and he's not in Gotham anymore. So let's assume that here. Let's assume that Hugo Strange drops Bruce's identity, he initiates Nightfall Protocol, and now Gotham has no more Batman to protect Gotham, at least for a little bit. And Gordon does mention in Arkham Knight that Gotham was pretty quiet in terms of crime between the 9 months of Arkham City and Arkham Knight, so it would make sense if Bruce Wayne laid low for a while. Even if Bruce returned as a vigilante between Arkham City and Arkham Knight, nobody would know. If you remember from Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League in the Batman Museum, Jack Ryder mentions that after several years, Bruce finally returns as Batman, which to me implies that nobody knew he was still roaming around as a vigilante in Gotham with Scarecrow's fear toxin post Arkham Knight. So keep that in mind, but okay, let's say he initiates Nightfall Protocol after Arkham City. This could change a lot, because in this universe, Jason Todd, aka the Arkham Knight, was setting up to attack the entire city in order to catch and kill Batman pretty much before the events of Arkham City. So if Batman is now MIA or presumed dead, Jason now has no point to initiate his plan. And on the other side of that coin, we have the Scarecrow. Scarecrow's whole plan was to engulf Gotham in a city of fear, but also mainly to ruin the symbol of hope that Batman represents. These plans that Scarecrow and Arkham Knight had, they were in the works long before the events of Arkham City. So what would happen to these plans now that Batman is dead? The main goal of their plan is now no longer in play, quote unquote. On top of that, Bruce's job isn't finished. There's still the infected Joker victims he has to worry about as well, right? The whole dynamic of Arkham Knight would be really different, but no worries. I have an explanation for all of that, I think, but yeah, let's just go on with the video. Okay, so first of all, for Jason, I think Jason would know that Batman is still alive, right? Like, there's no way he would think Batman died. I don't think he knew about Nightfall Protocol though, because Batman's other allies like Nightwing were talking as if they thought Batman was dead. So it's unclear if Batman told anyone other than Alfred about Nightfall, but nonetheless, Jason I think would for sure know that Batman's still alive, right? He just would. And since he would know Batman's alive, he would tell Scarecrow. Remember, Jason and Scarecrow are working together in Arkham Knight, so let's say Crane believes that Batman's dead. Jason would convince him and tell him that he's not, and because of that, their plan would still proceed as we see in Arkham Knight. Although it would be a different approach here. I think now, if Batman is still MIA in the 9-month time period between Arkham City and Arkham Knight, then he would for sure come out of hiding once Scarecrow unleashes his full-on assault on Gotham. This would force Batman to come out of hiding, to don the costume once more, and defeat the threat. That would be Jason and Crane's plan in the beginning. Evacuate Gotham and threaten to destroy the city, forcing Bruce to become Batman once more to fight them and take them on. I think this scenario makes the most sense to me because without Batman, I think Jason would just call off his militia, right? Since he has no more use for them. If he did that, Crane would be a much lesser threat without an army, and who knows if he would have kept attacking Gotham for the fun of it at that point or what. But I do think Jason and Scarecrow would know Batman's alive and force him to come to save Gotham the night they attack. And if you're wondering if people knowing who Batman is would ruin Scarecrow's plan of ruining the Batman's image, it wouldn't, because we saw that at the end of Arkham Knight, that he unmasked Batman and he still went on with his plan of ruining the symbol of Batman, so it wouldn't make that much of a difference in that scenario. Okay, so Batman is back in Gotham once more to save the day. I think the ripple effect of people knowing his identity wouldn't honestly be too bad. For one, GCPD would still trust and work with him. We saw that after playing the story of Arkham Knight, that GCPD still respects Batman with or without his identity. So them working with him to stop threats in Gotham, I think would still play out the same. I think Alfred would for sure be in a safer location, still helping Batman and saving Gotham. And as far as Batman's other allies go, the common public doesn't know anyone else besides Alfred. Like, in the Arkhamverse, nobody knows that Bruce actually adopted kids. I was too lazy to find the voice line in the overworld of Arkham Knight, so just trust me, bro. Source, trust me. But sometimes thugs will ask, so who's Robin? Which implies, or pretty much confirms, that Bruce Wayne adopting kids is not something official or known to the public. So the identities of Robin, Nightwing, even Jason are all protected, even Oracle as well. And as far as money goes, like if people found out Bruce is Batman, would his job and funds be halted? That'd be wrong too. I hate to use this as an example, but Bruce in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was still shown to be loaded since he still has all his fancy things on him. So because of all these reasons, I think for the most part, a lot of the story of Arkham Knight would play out the same. I think Scarecrow would still try to ruin the symbol of hope Batman represents by making Batman see his worst fears and whatnot, and the Arkham Knight would still do its thing and try and kill Batman. But I think the beginning of this game would play out like a Dark Knight Returns kind of thing. Batman returns to save Gotham from this huge threat, but here's the thing with Batman. I think the mental stack would be far too much. So remember, Joker dying made Batman a little bit more darker around the edges. On top of that, in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, it is implied that Bruce felt depressed and lost in some sort of way after his identity went public. So you would now have that here at this point in the timeline in Arkham Knight. And on top of that, he would eventually find out that Jason Todd is still alive and he's trying to kill him. And on top of that, he's still infected with the Joker infection. He still has to deal with that. I think the mental toll here with Batman would play a much bigger role. Between all of these things, we could see that play a pivotal part in this kind of story. And one more thing, if he does return in Arkham Knight, I'm going to assume his allies would find out that night in Arkham Knight as well. I'm under the assumption that like Robin, Oracle, Nightwing, even Lucius are unaware of Batman being alive. The way they talk in their DLCs, like I said earlier, implies that they don't know that Batman's alive, and it makes sense to me Bruce wouldn't tell them to keep them safe. They talk about Bruce in a past tense as if he's dead in their DLCs, so they wouldn't do this if they knew he was alive, right? So in Arkham Knight, they would all find out he's alive and we would see their reactions to that, which would be cool. But then that creates more questions, like I'm thinking about the Batmobile that Lucius helped Bruce make, the one we see in Arkham Knight, the tank. Would Bruce still have this Batmobile if he wasn't in contact with Lucius for like 9 months? I think it's very possible. They were most likely developing this before Arkham City if I had to guess, so I think it'd still be here in the story. But you know, there's small things like that to always consider. For that specific point though, I think Lucius would still keep Bruce's R&D department going, the place where Batman builds all his really cool gear, simply because that's the kind of guy Lucius is. So we'd still see the Batmobile from Arkham Knight still be in Arkham Knight, at least I think so. So for those reasons, I don't think the story of Arkham Knight on a broad level would change that much necessarily, but I do think it would give us a deeper look into Batman as a character and his relations with his allies. Like for example, once Batman sees Robin again after all this time, Robin might be upset as to why Batman didn't let him know what was going on, but then he'll understand as to why Batman did what he did and probably reconciles with him. It could have led to a lot more Bat family moments in Arkham Knight, delving more into Bruce's mind and him meeting with his allies after a long time. This could have been a great thing because one, it gives us the Bat family moments this game really lacked, and two, it would have tied things really well with Jason Todd being the Arkham Knight. I think the main game would have been the same plot-wise, but it could have had a lot more of an emotional impact if Bruce faked his death because of Hugo Strange, and him returning in Arkham Knight because Gotham needs him would have hit that much harder. And I also think that's would have given Hugo Strange a much more meaningful story. In Arkham Asylum, Joker being the main villain and using Titan had a huge impact on the series. With Hugo Strange as Arkham City, him revealing Batman's identity could have had a huge impact on the story. It just didn't. It's just what could have been, right, if that were the case. But anyway, I think one pretty big difference would be the whole Joker-infected plotline. So remember, before Arkham Knight, Batman put these Joker-infected people inside Vanessa Studios and had them pretty much locked up until Batman could cure them. But if Batman faked his death, Vanessa Hudgens was hot, how would this whole ordeal have panned out? Honestly, it could go a variety of ways. What I think would have happened though, since it was Robin who went to the hospitals to check for Joker's blood as we saw in Arkham City, he would most likely create a plan to try and cure them. Would he keep them against their will inside an abandoned movie studio? I don't know, probably not, but he would probably work with Oracle and Lucius to try to cure these people. Perhaps even Nightwing to formulate a plan to cure them, who knows. If that were the case, like, would he use Vanessa like I said? Maybe, but if he didn't, then the whole setting of that plot would be different, and they could go through so many different ways. I could just talk about it all day. Ultimately, I think the plan of Henry Adams killing the rest of the Jokers and purifying the gene pool would play similarly. They'd probably set it up to where Henry sees that Batman's infected, and then he'd unalive himself like he did in the main game. But there's other questions too, like, does Batman know the infected prior to the events of Arkham Knight? It would seem so, since the flashback scene in Arkham City showed that, but I don't know if he would find the Joker victims, because then he would give away that he's alive. So I don't know how this whole ordeal with a Bruce in relation to the Joker infected would start, but I think it would end the same way we saw in Knight. Henry Adams killing the others and then himself after he sees Batman's infected. So yeah, this whole plot can go so many ways that I can't predict, but my 2 cents is that it would pretty much end the same, and that they would all die and Batman would be the last quote-unquote Joker standing. But I think for the rest of the storyline, there would be constant dialogue about Batman returning and Bruce Wayne's identity, especially with his villains. I already mentioned it, but GCPD would still be cool with Batman, as that's what was shown in the actual game. There might be a whole plotline about what Bruce was doing between Arkham City and Arkham Knight. Whatever he was doing, I'm sure he is fine with the Bat family protecting Gotham in his absence, specifically Robin, Nightwing, Oracle, and Lucius. They can all help. So yeah, I don't think Bruce would stress too much about being MIA for 9 months, because Gotham has a lot of protectors, so that is a thing. However, I think the end of the game would have to be very different. The ending of Arkham Knight can't be that ending anymore, since Bruce's identity already went public. So how would the ending of this game play out here? Let's say that after Bruce stops the Joker in his mind and stops Scarecrow's plans once and for all, what's the plan now? There's a lot of questions. Does Bruce even have a plan if he comes back to Gotham after Nightfall Protocol? It doesn't seem that way, at least according to Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and timeline-wise, he's nowhere near to meeting up with the other JLA members, since Suicide Squad states he meets them years later after Arkham Knight. Again, I don't think Suicide Squad is canon, but I'm just using this one small section of the game for reference. Okay, well, I have some theories. Here's my guesses. I think there's kind of 2 options for Bruce at this point. The first option, which I think is something that's likely, is that Bruce returns to Gotham and remains as Batman. Obviously, there'd be a huge difference into his crime-fighting shenanigans now that everyone knows who he is. That's just a big life adjustment he'd have to take on. But I do think it's possible that Bruce says that Gotham will never truly be safe, and he needs to protect it for as long as he lives. The end of the actual game shows that Batman never truly leaves Gotham, so I think this is a possible outcome for the story, albeit probably a generic one. I think another one that can work though is that Bruce actually leaves Gotham to go search for a new symbol to craft or to find a newfound purpose for himself. If you remember as to what he was saying in his goodbye to Selina in the actual game, he tells her that Gotham needs something more to defend her, something more than he can be right now. With that logic, and with the Nightfall no longer being an option, maybe Bruce himself leaves Gotham to find that purpose, similar to how he started his journey in the very beginning to become Batman, leaving Gotham to find something stronger to be a symbol for Gotham, and in his absence, he is okay with that because he can leave the Bat family to protect the city since he trusts them. So it's not like Batman is leaving Gotham unprotected, nor is he leaving permanently. This could just be an option for him. And maybe doing this could be a really good setup into finding other superheroes like Superman and forming the Justice League. This could be a very open-ended ending that could set up for a lot of the series, and you could take like the future of the franchise in many different ways had this been an option. It could even end like Bruce leaves Gotham and everyone knows that, but then he returns after some time using Scarecrow's fear toxin again, and for some reason people would think it's a new vigilante in the city since, you know, comic book and superhero universes tend to do that. That's also a possibility right there, right? Like there's a lot of different ways it can go, but those are the endings that I see for the game. But overall, I think that while the story would play out the same roughly, there would be a much bigger emphasis on the Bat family with Batman returning to Gotham, as well as a significantly different ending, and a huge emphasis on the mentality of Batman, on top of everything else that I mentioned too. But that is what I think would possibly happen if Hugo Strange did reveal Bruce's identity in Batman Arkham City. What do you think though? Anything you think I got wrong? Anything you disagree with? Do you think I have swag? Let me know. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, please support it with a subscription, a like, a share. I don't know, dude. Anything really, but I hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you on the next video. Thanks so much. Stay safe and peace.